Hello, I'm Jonathon Land and I lead our pension credit advisory practice. We've just released our Pension Support Index that has for the last 10 years tracked the ability of the FTSE 350 to support their pension promise. This year we held off releasing it until after the result of the European vote. I'm glad we did, as Brexit has clearly had an impact on many pension schemes. Long-term gilt rates have gone down, increasing liabilities, and some asset classes have been hit. The strength of employers has changed positively or negatively, depending on how the business is impacted by trade with Europe, exchange rates or interest rates. Even before the vote on Brexit, the really startling news is that despite $100 billion being pumped into pension schemes over the last 10 years, and most schemes being shut to new members or future accrual, the Pension Support Index is no better than it was 10 years ago. Persistently low and falling gilt yields over the last 10 years have pushed up liabilities, which has countered the positive impact of any improvement in corporate performance over the same period. This comes at a time when the market's rewarding those companies that pay steadily increasing dividends. Getting the balance right between dividends and pension contributions can be really difficult. We see a polarisation, with twice as many companies as in 2006, only supported by a weak covenant. The winners appear to be those schemes that have hedged out much of their risk, and therefore have not been impacted to the same degree by market shocks, in particular interest rate falls. Brexit does not change many of these principles. I see some schemes who have hedged out much of their risk largely unaffected by Brexit, but all are not in the same position. One of the critical questions for many will be what will happen to interest rates going forward, and I've asked Andrew Sentance, our senior economic advisor, to give his perspective. So Andrew, what's going to happen to rates going forward?
Well, the market view is that rates will remain very low and bond yields will still be pretty low going forward. And the Brexit event has probably reinforced that. So if anything, bond yields have fallen back. But there's another scenario out there, which is that we do get some degree of normalisation of interest rates from central banks. And this is something that the Fed has been moving towards and made their first move towards just at the end of last year. And the Bank of England has been talking about. Now, the Brexit event has probably put that off, certainly here in the UK, but we shouldn't lose sight of that possibility. We were at about 5% interest rates before the crisis. They probably won't move up to that sort of level, but they could well move up to about 3 to 4%, probably by, say, possibly by the mid-2020s. So that's a scenario of interest rate normalisation that pension funds also need to take into account.
And have your views been at all impacted by Brexit, or are you in the same position as you were before?
Well, I don't think the views of the medium term or of the global interest rate environment, I think, have changed greatly. But here in the UK, it's obviously likely that the Bank of England are not going to raise interest rates until some of the political uncertainty is resolved. And so from an interest rate point of view, it's probably pushed out the first rise in interest rates that we see here in the UK.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So to conclude, if you have a strong covenant and can support further shocks, there's the option to take a longer-term view, and you may well benefit if rates revert to longer-term averages, as Andrew suggests. However, if your covenant is weaker, de-risking and/or using a contingent asset would appear to be a better approach. Our observation of the FTSE 350 over the last 10 years would certainly support this view. And trustees and companies need to understand how their particular employer will be impacted going forward. There'll be winners and losers. You need to know which group you're in and what to do about it. If you'd like to find out more, please read our Pension Support Index or get in touch with one of the team. Thank you for listening.